you're a lecturer,
Mm.
you talk with students about research and you teach research and you're encouraging them to write. I mean, what process are you going through? What are you finding?
I suppose what's interesting for me is one, I've been a student, I've developed my own research project, and I've managed to get something published from that. And I think going through that experience and knowing how how difficult it is if you don't understand it and you don't know how that process works. I think being able to have access to people and advice that can help you through that process is really, really, really important. I think one of the most frustrating things that I find is, like, maybe a student completes a piece of research for their masters or whatever, and they go, okay, I've done it, and it sits on a shelf, and it's not shared with anybody.
Yes.
And I think actually there's a lot of student work that's completed that might need a little bit of support and a little bit of help to shape it or
Yeah.
transform it into an article, but it's actually very much there, the basis of something really important. And I think, doing your research project, you might do it to get your master's or whatever, but wouldn't it be great if you could get it out there so that practitioners could actually see what you've done, and maybe that would change people's practice or other, inspire other qualitative research projects out there. So
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, I interrupt you there.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's all I was kind of going to say. And so I suppose for me, it's rare I find to find a journal that is trying to engage with that audience and those type of authors, I think, really. So, and I think this journal does that really, really well.
Yeah, well, thank you, Peter, and you're contributing to it as well, of course. One thing I'd like to say, though, is, like, with your students, when they do their masters, definitely don't leave it up on a shelf to gather dust. I mean, at the very least, we all go to conferences, or a lot of us go to conferences as part of our CPD, and we share research, we dialogue, we debate, we discuss. Well, I see writing an article at that level, the same kind of level. It's like presenting a paper or a workshop at a conference, and it's opening up your research to have it discussed. I remember the very first article I ever wrote, or early in my PhD research, was talking about good patients and bad patients, and I presented that at a conference. And there were some people who were absolutely disgusted, and they stood up and said, "How dare you talk about bad patients?" And I said, "Well, thank you for that. Let's look at it. Let's look at what we mean by these terms." And actually, it was a really fruitful discussion. Nothing wrong with getting a bit of fire and debate going. But the point is, why are the profession, we're so isolated and alone in our consulting rooms doing therapy, and it's kind of like there's an aura, I think, because it's so secret, all the confidentiality, and we don't do it in the public arena so much. And so I think with the secrets can come a bit of shame. And I think the only thing that can work against that is to dialogue, to start talking, to saying, "Well, do you know what? I had this idea, or I've done this piece of research. What do you think about this? Or does it apply more widely? Or, is there any gem of interest here for somebody else?" I mean, that's what it's about. It's the debate in the field. It's the discussion. It's the dialogue.